In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a bird out of clay. This bird is hollow and you'll be able to fill the bird with water up to here and whistle through it, and it should be able to make a chirping sound. Here I've cut the bird in half so that you can see the whole thing is hollow. The head that was attached is hollow, the body piece, the tube for the tail, and there's a little hole at the top of the head. So this will allow airflow to go through it, and it'll allow a space for the water right in the body. Here I have pieces set aside to build the different parts of the bird. I've got about a big marble size piece of clay for the front part of the body. I've got about a gumball size piece of clay for the tail end. So these two come together and make an egg-shaped body. This is for the head, this is for the tail. While I'm working with one piece, I'm going to put the other pieces back into the wet cloth and make sure that they're covered so that they stay hydrated. The first thing I'm going to do is roll the clay, make sure it's nice and round. And this is going to be the round half sphere of the front of the body. So this is the pinch method. I'm just going to stick it there on my thumb like a mushroom. And this is going to be harder if you have long fingernails, so make sure that your fingernails are clipped. And what I'm doing is I'm just turning the piece and going around in a circle using my fingers and my thumb as calipers to gauge the length of the wall, the depth of the wall. And I want the wall to be relatively the same width. So I'm just going to go ahead and pinch and make sure that it's nice and round. And while I'm pinching, I'm pulling my thumb like this to drag some of that clay from the bottom out. So that's the body, the front part of the body. Now I'm going to make the pointy end. So I'm going to store this in here, pull out the other piece, and for this piece I'm going to stick my thumb in further, and because I want it more of a cone shape, I'm just going to press the clay down around my thumb so it's starting to make a cone shape, and also using my fingers to kind of gauge the depth of the wall. And I do want them about the same width as the front part. So I'm pulling that clay downward on the thumb, and you can see it's making a cone shape. And this one is a little bit more uneven with the finish right here than the other piece. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that so that it's nice and flat there so the two pieces can go together. And to do that, I'm going to take my needle tool and score. Anytime you're attaching two pieces of clay together, you need to take the needle tool and rough up the edge on both pieces. So this piece and the other piece, the front piece, will need to be scored. I'm going to use this slip, the glue, and kind of smear that on there. And get my other piece. And they should fit relatively well. This one's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to kind of pinch it a little bit more and pull that clay down around. And I'm using my fingers to kind of enclose it so that it fits better with this piece. And then you're going to take this and score this so that the pieces are going to fit together like this once you score the pieces. And I've got that glue on there. I'm just going to put this on here and use my blending tool to kind of blend the pieces together like butter. So here's the piece all blended together. It's egg-shaped, and I've cut a little hole in the big side so that I can go ahead and put the bird's head on there. I went ahead and pinched the bird's head so it's a little round, kind of more of a whole sphere, and I'm going to scratch and attach that onto there so that I have this egg shape for the body and then a sphere for the head. So now I've blended the bird's head in to the body, and the whole thing is hollow still. Just kind of smoothing it out a little bit. So while I'm working on creating its tail, I'm going to set the bird over here in the wet cloth and cover the bird so that it doesn't dry up while I'm working. So here I have a smaller piece of clay, and I'm going to turn it more into a hot dog shape and roll it out into a bit of a short coil. So I'm just moving it and rolling it with my hand and pressing down a little bit. So it's going to elongate. And I don't want to do this because that's just going to flatten it. What you do is just kind of controlled roll so that you can gauge the width of the tail. So I'm just going to roll it a little bit more. And then I'm going to take my bamboo skewer and really carefully stick that into one end because it needs to be hollow, and feel with my fingers as it's moving through that it's not poking out one of the sides, it's going through the center. And there it comes out the other end. And we need the opening to be bigger than this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the skewer and just kind of gently roll it like so. And this is going to widen the interior so that the hole gets bigger. And we want it big enough to work with, but not too big for the bird itself. So let's see, just gonna hit this side real quick. So there's my opening, much bigger than it was before. Let's see. And I'm going to trim it so that it's nice and clean on both ends. And I'm going to score this and make an opening in the bird's tail end. And I want it to be on the short end. So the water line will be right about here, and the water will sit in the body, and then the tail will come up this way, and you're going to blow the air in through here and it'll bubble up through the head. So I'm just going to carve in a little opening right here, not too big, and I'm going to dig that clay out, make sure it doesn't fall inside, and then I'm going to scratch this opening up. Put that in the glue right there. Got a little too much. And blend that in. And you might need to put a little bit of clay around there to reinforce the attachment. Because you want the bird's tail to get a little bit bigger at the base so that it's able to hold the bird's tail on the body. Take this piece off and wrap it around. So just think that limbs, they get thicker as they get closer to the body, and then thinner as you move away from the body. This is really great for structural stability, to keep that in mind. So now the bird's tail has a thicker coil of clay wrapped around it.